I'm Chelsea. A few weeks ago, my father, after battling illness, passed away. I wish I could have shown him his grandchildren. Those words escaped my lips with a sigh. I got married at 25, exactly 5 years ago. At my wedding, my father and I made a promise. I'll let you know first when I get pregnant. But that promise remained unfulfilled. That's my biggest regret about my father. Ever since his illness was diagnosed a year ago, I did everything in my power for him. I made regular trips back to my parents' home, accompanied my mother on hospital visits, increased our phone and video chats. I did everything I could think of. Yet I still wonder, could I have done more? I whispered to myself. Sitting beside me, my mother reassured, "You did well, Chelsea. Your father would have been content." Just then, my sister Portia returned, accompanied by the lawyer. Entering the living room, Portia announced, "Here's the lawyer," gesturing toward a man in his mid-40s. Assuming he was the lawyer, he handed me his business card. "I'm Samuel, the attorney. Thank you for having me. Please take a seat," he said. "Excuse me," my mother guided Samuel to his chair. As soon as he sat down, Portia blurted out, "I heard from this lawyer that Dad left quite an inheritance." "Not all for you, Portia." "I know that," I retorted, my sister glaring back at me. "Portia and I don't see eye to eye. We used to be close, but things changed when we learned about Dad's illness." One of the reasons was her arrogant demeanor. Despite my attempts to reconcile, she never visited our father. Maybe I said it wrong. I was just worried about him, I admitted, trying to soften my tone. But her reaction didn't help. "You're not a child, you don't have to be so stubborn," I argued. In response, my sister shot back, "I'm not being stubborn. I live in the city, it's not easy to come all the way out here." "But it's just a 2-hour drive," I pointed out, frustrated. 2 hours is a lot and it costs money," she countered sharply. "Money seems to matter more to you than family." "I'm busy, so stop bothering me." With that, she shut down the conversation. Even though she lived far away, I had always hoped she'd visit occasionally. That's how our relationship soared so quickly. In the end, she never came to see our father, leaving our bond strained. Feeling the tension, the lawyer stepped in. "Let's calm down, please," he urged gently. "I'm sorry, I apologize," I quickly said, and the lawyer nodded, trying to ease the atmosphere. "As I mentioned on the phone, I have your father's will." "When did this happen?" my mother whispered. "A few weeks before he passed," the lawyer answered. "He called me to the hospital." "So, you witnessed the signing?" "Yes, I had him sign it in front of me with his primary physician present. They had arranged for the doctor to contact me upon his passing," the lawyer explained. "That's how I got in touch with you." He pulled out a white envelope and placed it on the table. "This is the will. It's definitely Dad's handwriting," I murmured, recognizing the script on the envelope. My sister, Portia, looked impatient. "Never mind, just tell us what it says." "I'm busy," she remarked, giving a forced smile as the lawyer opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with my father's instructions. It detailed his estate, including the house, land, savings, and a storage shed. We knew about the house and land, but what's this about a storage shed? I wondered aloud. My sister interrupted angrily. "Hold on, you didn't mention the farm." "The farm? That was Dad's hobby," I explained. "He ran a company nearby but wanted to simplify his life after turning 50. I'm thinking of closing the company. I want to take it easy," he told us back then. My sister had opposed it then, but my mother and I, concerned for his health, had supported his decision. "Don't worry about the money, Portia. We have enough savings," my father reassured her. Reluctantly, she agreed. After that, he closed his company and started farming near our home. "It feels good to move my body while farming," he'd say, looking genuinely happy. Seeing him like that, I felt validated in supporting his decision, but my sister didn't share the sentiment. Despite saying she'd return home after college, she opted for a job near her university. Eventually, she married the CEO of an IT company she met through work. That's why father continued farming until he fell ill. My sister insists the farm should be part of the inheritance, I explained to the lawyer, who quickly reviewed the documents. Finding a note, he clarified, "The farm is rented land." "Rented? I thought we owned a large piece of land," my sister remarked, visibly disappointed. "True, the farm where Dad grew vegetables was spacious, but managing it would be too much for us, knowing nothing about farming. Perhaps it's better that it's rented," I suggested. The conversation then turned to dividing the inheritance. Regarding the division, the house and land go to the wife, the lawyer announced, and my sister grinned. So we can split the rest as we like. Please divide the savings and storage shed fairly between you, he continued. Savings refer to cash, correct? I'll take the cash. How much is it? My sister inquired eagerly. The savings amount to about $100,000. There's no inheritance tax on this amount. The lawyer explained. Then I'll take the $100,000 in cash, my sister declared triumphantly. But I can't agree to such a selfish arrangement. I protested strongly against my sister. Hold on, why should I accept this? I'm the oldest daughter, I argued, dismissing her claim. You can have the storage shed. What even is that anyway? Turning back to the lawyer, my sister flipped through the documents. The lawyer clarified, it's the shed next to the barn. You'll inherit the building, the land it's on, and everything inside. My sister's eyes lit up at the mention of land. Even though she's married to the CEO of an IT company, she still wants more money. I wondered silently. The lawyer continued, the shed is about 65 square feet, roughly the size of a small bedroom. A small bedroom. Can I see photos? The lawyer placed them on the table. The pictures showed both the exterior, a rundown shack, and the interior, filled with basic tools like a hose, scissors, and shovels. Nothing valuable. I don't want it. My sister grimaced. I've seen the photos, it's all very ordinary. These are sentimental items, not something of value, I thought to myself. My sister sighed. Fine, I'll take the cash. You can have that dirty shed. Wait, that's not fair. You agreed to the vegetable farming. Why complain now? I argued. Well, it's hard to argue with that logic, I admitted reluctantly. Still, if I didn't speak up, she'd walk away with all of Dad's inheritance. Are we settled then? My sister pressed, looking at me expectantly. My mother intervened. As long as Portia won't regret this decision later, I have no objections. I won't, my sister assured. So Portia takes the cash and Chelsea gets the shed. Agreed? My sister grinned. Feeling uneasy, I voiced my dissent. Well, I'm not satisfied. Oh, come on, you're so greedy, my sister retorted. It's not about greed, it's about fairness. You care more about Dad than money, right? Her words left me speechless. Of course, family is more important than money. Money matters, but it can't compare to family. While these thoughts raced through my mind, my sister swiftly concluded the discussion. In the end, my mother received the house and land, while my sister took Dad's savings. All that remained for me was the dusty shed. Afterward, my sister signed a document agreeing not to contest the inheritance division. Later, she laughed loudly while I seethed with frustration. Unable to contain myself, I turned to my mother. Mom, why didn't you support me? I did support you. How? You sided with Portia. That's not true. I made sure you got the shed. Huh? I'm not exactly thrilled about getting a shed. You might find something unexpectedly valuable if you take a closer look, my mother replied with a reassuring smile. I could only sigh in response. The following day, armed with the key from the lawyer, I made my way to the shed near the field. It was a solitary walk down a rural road seldom traveled by others, about 10 minutes from home. I finally reached the field where Dad had rented land for the past year. Since his hospitalization, the field lay deserted. Unlocking the shed, I remarked aloud, Wow, it's quite dusty. The shed was indeed dusty, clearly untouched for some time. Yet I held out hope that there might be something of sentimental value left by Dad. With that thought in mind, I began to search through its contents. Apart from some basic farming tools, there was nothing particularly noteworthy. Maybe I should take these tools for now, I muttered, scanning the shed. It was then that I noticed something odd. It seemed smaller on the inside than it did from the outside. Perhaps it was the dim lighting, but the interior of the shed felt surprisingly cramped. Is it just my imagination? I pondered aloud. As I contemplated this, I decided to step outside the shed. Yet a lingering feeling prompted me to circle around to the back. On the rear side, adjacent to a thicket of trees, I made a startling discovery. A second door. Wait, another entrance at the back? I exclaimed in surprise. From inside the shed, there had only been a solid wall where the door I'd used was located. Yet from the outside, there was clearly another entrance. What's going on here? I wondered aloud. The presence of a door visible only from the outside suggested an additional space accessible exclusively from behind. Excitement surged through me as realization dawned. This must be Dad's surprise. He always loved surprises. Remember how he used to surprise me on my birthdays? Memories flooded back, bringing tears to my eyes. Determined, I returned to the shed, intent on finding the key to the back door. If it's Dad, he would have hidden it somewhere here, I muttered, trusting my intuition. After a thorough search, I discovered 2 keys tucked in the handle of a shovel. Making my way to the rear of the shed, I tried one of the keys in the lock. With a satisfying click, the door swung open. What could be inside? The space beyond was cramped, barely 3 feet wide. A familiar sight greeted me, a large safe. Could this be from Dad's office? I recognized it instantly, the same safe from his office corner during my childhood. Nostalgia washed over me as I embraced the safe. This was a precious piece of my father's memory. Feeling content, I knew Dad wouldn't stop here. There must be more surprises, I muttered, inserting the second key into the safe's lock. With a slight creak, the safe door swung open. No way! I stood in shock, staring at the unexpected contents. A hidden inheritance. What should I do? I have to tell Mom. Securing the safe, I hurried to my mother. After explaining everything, I called my husband, and together we moved the safe from my parents' house. Reality hit me then. While undoubtedly Dad's possessions, if included in my inheritance alongside the shed, they might incur inheritance tax. I need to handle this carefully. The contents of the safe were valuable. I decided to seek advice from a lawyer. Considering inheritance tax, you should consult a certified public accountant, advised the lawyer. Following a friend's recommendation, I contacted an accountant to handle the complex financial details. Months passed quietly. Just when I thought everything had settled, my sister unexpectedly appeared near my home. What brings you here all of a sudden? Oh, I had some things to take care of at our parents' house, so I thought I'd stop by. Her explanation sounded vague and evasive. Seems odd, even though we live close to our parents, it's still a 20-minute drive. We're not the type to drop by casually, especially after all the tension over Dad's inheritance. I couldn't shake my suspicion as I studied her. Meanwhile, my sister, visibly nervous, asked, "Can I come in?" "Sure, but what's going on?" "I need to talk to you about something," she said with a forced smile. Reluctantly, I invited her inside. After serving coffee, she fidgeted nervously before finally speaking. "So, did you win the lottery or something?" "What? No, I didn't." "Then did your husband get a bonus?" Perplexed, I tilted my head. "I don't play the lottery, and my husband's bonus isn't due yet." Confusion mounting, I asked directly, "What are you talking about?" My sister grew defensive. "Why are you being so dismissive? Are you making fun of me?" "No, I just don't understand what you're getting at." "Money, money, you have it, right?" "Money." "Yeah, I received the inheritance. So I sent thank you gifts to our relatives who supported us. The gift cards you mentioned were part of those thank yous." "Oh, and what I kept were sentimental items like Dad's pocket watch," I continued, showing it to her. "It's not valuable, but it means a lot to me. It holds the most memories." My sister's expression darkened as she heard my account. "So, you don't have any left?" "No, there are still some items in the safe." "Where's the safe now?" "It's at Mom's. It's too large for this house. It's the one Dad used at his company." My sister looked away, lost in thought. Her sudden change in demeanor unsettled me. Shortly after, she abruptly stood up and declared, "I'm leaving, now that I know where the money came from," before walking out. Knowing my sister's focus on money, I feared she might demand a share from the sale of Dad's watch. I felt relieved she left without causing a scene. Yet, in my relief, I forgot the earlier unease. My sister wasn't typically understanding. This fact became painfully clear later that night when my mother called urgently. "Chelsea, it's urgent. Come over right away." "What happened, Mom?" "It's really bad," she said, her voice frantic and unclear. My husband and I hurried to my mother's house. As we approached, an eerie sight greeted us. The area around my parents' house was bathed in red light. "What's happening?" It became apparent as we drew nearer. Multiple police cars were parked outside. I pushed through the gathering crowd and called out to my mother, "What's going on, Mom?" "Chelsea, you see." According to her, it was after 9 p.m. Exhausted, she had already retired to bed. Soon after, she heard strange noises, sounds of someone rummaging about, coming from beyond the door. Oh, it's a burglar, my mother thought instantly. Alone in the house, she felt powerless and decided to escape through the window. Glancing back, she saw the beam of a flashlight moving around inside. It must be a burglar, she convinced herself, racing to the neighbor's house and shouting, "Help! There's a burglar." Upon hearing the commotion, the neighbor hurried out, spotting the swinging light my mother had pointed out. They promptly called the police, believing a burglary was in progress. However, it turned out not to be a burglar at all. Unbeknownst to anyone, it was my sister who had sneaked into the house to search the safe after hearing my story. When the police arrived, my sister was caught off guard. Panicked, she attempted to flee, forgetting it was her own family home. In her haste, she accidentally knocked the already unstable safe, causing it to topple over and trap her underneath. So, Portia got pinned under it. Yes, that's what happened. Is she okay? She was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. She keeps complaining about her leg hurting. What was she thinking? I was utterly bewildered. Later, my mother and I apologized profusely to the police officers for the false alarm. Feeling guilty for disturbing them so late, I also called my sister's husband. Wait, you're saying Portia broke into her own family home and got injured? Yes, that's right. What was she doing? She doesn't even handle household matters. I'm really sorry about her behavior. That's it. I'm considering divorce. Divorce? As it turned out, according to my sister's husband, she had accumulated a significant amount of debt. He had just discovered her excessive spending on luxury items, which led to a major argument between them. In the end, my sister stormed out of the house, declaring, "I'll borrow from Mom and pay it back." It turns out she had already used the $100,000 she inherited to clear her debts. Still in need of more money, she came to me hoping to scrounge up additional funds. Her knowledge of the safe's contents triggered these actions, which spiraled into this entire mess. No wonder her husband was livid. In the end, my sister, with a fractured leg, ended up hospitalized. Her husband arrived at the hospital and broached the topic of divorce. Naturally, my sister made a scene. "I'm not getting a divorce. Absolutely not." But it was too late. Her husband had brought divorce papers. Faced with them, she had no choice but to sign. Now she lies stunned in her hospital bed. Beside her is a part-time job magazine, likely planning to work part-time to repay her debts. That's a weight off my shoulders. As for me, after all the turmoil, I've decided to return to my parents' home. Concern for my mother is one reason, but there's another. I've discovered I'm pregnant. My husband and I discussed it and decided to move back and have my mother help with childcare. I wish I could have shared the news of the pregnancy with my father while he was alive. I'm sure he would have been overjoyed. I'm looking forward to welcoming a healthy baby into the world.